real and they be faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun toting, Bible reading, God believing, truth speaking, American. This MAGA season, Democrats committing treason. I know they think it's sweet, but you don't know who you dealing with. This for free thinkers only. You ain't got no membership. They free General Flynn out the cage, cause he innocent. Barton Roger Stone, cause the run know that he innocent. We need to kick out every single illegal immigrant. Mandatory voter ID laws we need to implement. Tell Jussie Smollett that I know this MAGA country. Tell China we know they.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the XJW Political Corner. I have my guest here. I'm going to add him up to the stage. Before we start, if you have any questions, I pinned a message to the top of the chat. Put your questions there. I will star them. And then at the end of the interview, I'll try to get to your questions. But I am going to dig into a lot of opinions from this guy. So I am so excited to introduce Ehsan Joarder. Hello.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Doing good. I am so glad that I bumped into you in this group chat on X. I was about to say Twitter, but on X, and you said that you were like, freak it, I am going to run for District 6th, and you did it. You are running for District 6. Yeah.
I mean, I just saw that. I knew Randy Fine before. Before all of this, him running in that office, and I disliked Randy Fine, for a long time now, and just the thought that this guy's going to be representing who Americans are, as who we are as Americans, is just despicable. And the more I looked into how his finances, the more I looked into the person that he was, it was all red flags. And at this point, I feel very good about my decision.
Wow, yeah, that's really awesome. I really like you because you are young, you're fresh, you're up to date. You know what I mean? Like when I look at people who are running for office, I always see these old men, or just like the people that we have in Congress right now or in government are all old. And I really do support term limits. I wanted to ask you about that. How do you feel about fresh blood coming into government?
I absolutely support term limits. And I think that it's absurd that we have people making decisions about 50, 60 years into the future of our country who are not going to be a part of that. I think that's a big problem when you don't have any skin in the game over the future of the country, and you're leading us to that future. If you look at the history of our country was founded by people that were in their early 20s. I think there was only one that was 47, Thomas Jefferson, but the rest of them were all in their early 20s, not even their late 20s. And now we see the average makeup of Congress is 67 years old. Term limits are absolutely, it's imperative that we get term limits, because that's how we end up in $36 trillion in debt. That debt that we have now, our generation had nothing to do with it, and we're going to have to deal with that one day. That debt that's in there is all from the boomer generation. So you want to sit there and tell me what we should or shouldn't do? No, you put us into that mess to start off with. So I'm not the last person I'm going to listen to about the future of our country is going to be you.
Wow, yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Okay, so I just want to let you give me your own introduction. Like, who are you? Where were you born, raised, and then your motivation into politics?
So I'm Ehsan Joarder. I'm 35 years old. I have 3 kids. I'm just your average working class American. My parents moved here looking for the American dream, and they raised me. I'm a son of immigrants, and I have 3 brothers. My older brother is in banking and finance. My younger brother is also in finance. He's a CPA, and I'm just an average American business owner who knows how money works and how a business runs, and our country is also a business. And the reason that I got involved with politics is because of that. I had no idea that we were in $34 trillion in debt around January of this year, and when I looked at that, I thought it was not a deficit, but a surplus. I was like, all right, we got money, and so we're doing pretty good. But shocker, it was not a surplus. It was a deficit, and I lost my mind at that point. I'm like, wait a second, like we're paying that. So the more I dug into things, and like more I started looking into bills and what we are spending money on. I mean, there's no denying that we have a spending problem. We're like those reckless 16-year-old racking up credit cards. first time, when you're in college, just rack up all this debt. Where our country is a reckless, teenager, just racking up debt with no end in sight, thinks that, daddy's going to come bail us out. That's not going to, we don't have, we don't have a daddy coming to bail us out. If the country fails, I don't know what that was going to look like. But if you look at history, it'll give you an idea of what that's going to look like, because the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, all those empires, great empires have collapsed. So based on historical data, I would say that it's not going to be good for any American if we continue to head in the direction that we're headed to. So my political introduction was the deficit, and the more I looked into it, the more more upset I got, and then at one point I started looking for solutions. I was like, okay, we identified a problem. The problem is that we have a huge debt. We have immigration that's coming in that we cannot sustain. We have, every single aspect of our country is under attack. We are systematically being destroyed as a nation and everything that we stand for. So, I started looking into, okay, why is this happening? What is the solution for this? And one of the conclusions that I came to where I can have the most impact as an American, in politics, the thing that I'm passionate about is the money, and the power of the purse lies in Congress. And all these bills that are passed are all passed through Congress. And then I looked into why are they passing these bills? Who's funding who? And it's just a web of, deception and corruption and just a huge pile of, dark money that comes into, it's like a cycle. Like, on one end, they siphon money in and buy politicians. On the other end, those same politicians turn around and line their pockets with billions of dollars in different contracts and different ways to get money out from the taxpayers' pockets to their own pockets. You know what I mean? So Congress was where I saw was like, that's where I need to be, where I can make the most impact, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I'm going to go in there and change the whole Congress. No, I'm not. But what I will tell you is that I'm going to be the one more vote that says, no, I'm not going to fund that. I'm going to be the guy that stand next to Thomas Massey and be like, all right, which one do you want to go, which one of these guys do you want me to go hit first?
That's amazing. Yeah. I love that. So let me know, what are your reasons for running as a Republican? Because when I learned about politics, I always hated like the two-party system. Like, why do they always force us to be either blue or red, Democrat or Republican? And I feel like nobody else wins. And the third party is enticing to me. Like, I kind of like that they are different. It's new people and it can bring new ideas. So I wanted to know, like, why would you run as a Republican?
So, my stance is on this is that I don't care about Republicans. I don't care about Democrats. I don't care about anyone. I care about America. That's my forefront. That's what I care about. That's who I stand with. Those are the people I stand with. I don't really care about party politics. If you think, Republicans have X, Y, and Z in the propaganda that they push, and the Democrats have X, the Democrats have their same talking points, and both parties just parrots the same talking points for each and every candidate. I don't really care about any of that. You know what I mean? I care about what's going to make America better, what's going to leave a better future for my kids, and what's going to leave a country where I don't have to spend, 50, 60, 70, 90% of my money in taxes to go blow it on, to give a free check to, all these politicians and their, puppet little friends. You know what I mean? I don't care about parties. So the reason I ran for, the reason I'm in the Republican Party is because the Republican Party is the party of conservatives. Do I parrot all of their talking points? No, absolutely not. I have my own beliefs. I have my own opinions on things. The Democrat Party loses me at the point where the whole transgender thing comes in. When you come into when that is my, I cannot cross that. When you're promoting, homosexuality and transgenderism and all these gender altering surgeries and all that stuff, you lost me there. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
That's my red line. I'm not a Republican who's like, yeah, I'm not going to spend money on this or that, or I think that we should be spending all the money that we do have, but within our own country. I want to have the biggest infrastructure bill, ever past in our country. I want to have our bridges and roads, future proof for the next 100 years. You know what I mean? That's what so I'm not I'm not in any way, saying that we shouldn't spend any money at all. So what I'm saying is the money that we're spending needs to be spent the right way. You know what I mean? Like, I am the kind of guy that I wash my plastic spoons until they break apart and they don't let work anymore. I get joy out of that, being able to use something that's made for one-time use and I get to use it again. I actually feel joy from that. You know what I mean? I am an actual conservative person. Like, I eat all my leftovers. I don't I drink the milk that my kids leave over eating cereal. Because I want to throw it away. I get joy from that. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't, we should have a closed up society and not spend money on the future. What I'm saying is that the future that I want to spend money on I want to make sure that all of the Americans are able to benefit from that, not just a select few that are in Congress in Washington.
Right. Okay. So it is safe to say you are America first, and it is also on your bio on X. I also have the same thing. I do believe in America first values, and you are safe to say you're conservative. Now, I wanted to get a little bit deeper. Are you religious?
I am religious, actually. I'm very religious. I'm not religious in a way that I practice any specific religion. I grew up in a Muslim household, so I've been to mosques. I go to church. My kids go to Graces, to a church, family church, to school. So I do go to church on Sundays. I go to the mosque on Fridays. So I am very religiously, I'm in, I have understanding of religion. I've read the Bible. I read the Quran. But I don't, I don't try to keep my religion out of politics, but I try to make my everyday decisions in my life based on what God would want me to do.
Good answer. Yeah, I like that. All right, now just to get a little bit personal, and I already got a strike on my channel for talking about C-19, so I'm not going to get deep into it, but a little bit more personal. Are you married, or did you get the jab? Without saying the V word, I just wanted to ask you a little bit more personal. Yeah, so are you married or did you take the jab?
No, I did not take the jab. I did I did own a lab in that space. We did a lot of texting, a lot of jabs, but I personally did not take the jab. I've been anti-jab before being anti-jab was cool. So when that whole thing happened, I did not participate in it. I did financially gain from it, so I'm not going to hide that. I was the CEO of a medical lab from the time that COVID started, and then up until I think like 2 or 3 years ago, I sold it. But the main purpose of that was because I did not want to take the jab, and I also didn't want to wait 2-3 hours online to get a test to go travel. I was like, you know what, I cannot do this. I'm not going to do this. And I need to open my own lab to be able to circumvent that.
So you were anti-mandate, anti-lockdown, like the whole 2020
Yes.
pandemic, you were really like against it.
Fully against it. Fully against. My kids are all unvaccinated, by the way. Don't tell CPS.
Yeah. I don't want to get a strike, so I'm not going to even go there. Moving on, how do you feel about, okay, so I went down your X feed.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster on there. And I like that because I kind of felt like we have a lot of similar views that we have more freedom to give more opinions on there. So right. I saw a lot of your tweets and you're very powerful, very blunt, you lay it out. 100%, you know what I mean? Like you're real on there. How do you feel about any criticism? Because I saw there was like one tweet that said, oh, your opponent might say that you're anti-Semitic or whatever. How do you feel about when people you might rub somebody the wrong way because of your politics?
It's really unfortunate that, they're diluting the word anti-Semitism. They're taking all of the power that word might have had one day out to nothing. Nowadays, when somebody calls somebody anti-Semitic, I'd look at them and I'm like, all right, but are they? Did they lie about anything?
Yeah.
That's my question. It's
exactly.
Like, okay, why are they anti? Now I want to know more about this guy and why he's being labeled that. So to me, I'm like, if I'm against 40,000 innocent people dying, does that make me an anti-Semite? I guess. If I say that's okay, then I'm not an anti-Semite. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say to that. No, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what your faith or your belief is. if there's, at any conflict, there's 12,000 kids that have died. It doesn't matter who you think your maker is. You're going to meet your maker one day. We're all going to die, and no matter what your belief system is, or what faith or religion you believe in, we're all going to meet our maker one day, right? And I want to be able to go there and when I meet my maker, whoever it is, whatever religion you believe it is, and say that, hey, guess what? I spoke out against it. I was not for it. I did not support it in directly or indirectly. I didn't co-sponsor it. I had nothing to do with it. I actually fought against it. And I want to be able to say that when that time comes, and if that gets me labeled as being an anti-Semite, then I guess so be it. I'll wear that badge proudly.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So the topic of C19 and anti-Semitic or racism, like those labels that they put on us, I do want to have a space with you on X so that we can speak a little bit more freely on that, because I can't really do it on YouTube. I'm on probation. So, okay, moving on. Another tweet I saw was your stance on abortion. And I don't know, like in my opinion, that shouldn't even be political. It shouldn't even be discussed. But I want to give it, for the audience, your views on abortion and how that ties into our politics. Because unfortunately, everybody wants to run on that. They always want to have a stance like, oh, I'm pro-life or I'm pro-choice. So I wanted to ask your opinion on that.
I'll tell you this, growing up, this was, if you asked me about abortion when I was in college or in high school, I would have probably had a very different view on it. But my views on it now are very different, it's pretty simple. It's pretty logical. I don't think that it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. For me, even for my kids were, none of them were planned, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't even know what I would do with my life without my kids now, But to think that, because of whatever the situation is that you're in, you're terminating a life. That doesn't sit well with me. I think that a life is a life no matter what. And also, if it comes to the point where, the life of the mother is at risk, or it's a pregnancy that we know that it's going to, the kid's not going to, the survival rate of the kid is like very unlikely, then in that case we should, the abortion should be something that's if it's medically necessary, it should be available for people. But it's for someone, if I was to go out and I end up getting somebody pregnant, my first thought process on that shouldn't be, oh, I screwed up, so let me take this, let me punish the unborn child because of a mistake I might not have made. You know what I mean? It might be the best thing that's ever happened to me, which is the case of my kids. Right. So my stance on it is, I think that from a congressman's point, I think that we should have more programs on supporting mothers with kids. American mothers with kids, not, just incentivizing migration, mass migration of more kids coming in, but like American mothers, American kids, I think that we should have more support for them. But as far as the abortion goes, I'm against that, unless it's medically necessary or, in terms of rape or incest or something like that. Even then, it's like a slippery slope. It's not the child's fault, but
right.
I would let those pass. But as far as to aborting a perfectly normal, viable human being, I'm against that.
Right. Okay, good. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm actually like super pro life, like borderline abolitionist. So I totally agree with you. So yeah, talking about immigration, you mentioned it earlier, and I saw your feed was full of a really strong stance on the immigration and the border stuff that we're seeing. How do you feel about that? Because even people come over here and they're pregnant and they give birth here, and that baby is American, like just because he was born here. Like, how do you feel about that?
It's it's systematic. It's a systematic destruction of our society. If I was to, I don't know, maybe chat GPT it and ask chat GPT, how to take down a nation, a powerful nation, systematically, I feel like it would give us the exact blueprint of what's happening to our country. You know, the most efficient, you know, way that you could think of to take down a powerful armed country would be exactly what they're doing. You know, make it to where, you know, you don't have an extra dollar to spend on anything else but to just you know, eat and live. Make it to where, you know, we're debt slaves. We owe the government for everything. We need the government for every little thing, and then flood our board. You know, keep our borders open. Flood our borders with mass migrations of people who have no loyalty to our country, and they don't. You know, they have no patriotism, no loyalty to this country. If this country collapses, those people all have a place to go to. You know, Americans don't have another place to go to. We're going to be dealing with this here. You know, I don't have, you know, another country to just disappear to and be like, oh yeah, let me just take my money and go over here. I don't want to go anywhere. I speak English.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think that I don't villainize, you know, migrants. I'm not against migrants coming into our country. But right now, at this very moment, those migrants are a victim of the same tool same weapon that's being weaponized against us, which is the destruction of our country, and they're being used as a tool for that. So they're just as much a victim as we are in this whole thing they're doing on us. I mean, you got to think about it. You know, we have you know, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare that we've all paid into since we were 15 years old. You know, I remember I used to work at Chick-fil-A, and I got my first check. You know, I was so excited. I thought I was going to get like, you know, $400 or $500. I remember it being like $100 something. I was like, wait, what is this? You know, I make more money from my parents giving me lunch money. You know? And I remember looking at the tax. I'm like, what is all of this? You know, but we've been paying that since we were kids. And to now think that, you know, they're talking about, you know, they're going to cut down on Social Security, cut down on Medicaid and Medicare that we've all paid into, because and on the same breath give away billions of dollars for funding foreign nations and foreign wars. That is just absurd to me. You know what I mean? That is lunacy. So you know, I think that it all works as in the same, you know, it's the same. It's all part of the same strategy that they're using, and keeping the borders open, flooding the borders with migrants, and then at the same time bombing a bunch of other countries. You know, shuffling that hornet's nest so that all those people start pouring in here too. You know what I mean? That's the end game, is that they want to have a country full of people who have no loyalty to our country, who are okay with destroying our country to make a buck out of it, because they're making the big money out of it, and they have already. If you look at our country, every big corporation is owned by the same fund, you know, public fund managing group, whatever you want to call them. All of them are owned by the same exact, you know, entities. I'll give you an example. Actually, maybe you could have her on your show next time. I met this girl through my kids, and she has a little 4-year-old child, and she lives in the trailer parks. Right, single mom, 4-year-old child. Dad's not even in the picture, and lives in the trailer parks. Literally has no money. You know what I mean? Can't do anything. She calls me one day, and she's like, "Hey, you know, I need your help." You know, she's like, I have a court date coming up for an eviction. She's getting evicted from her property. And so I was like, well, you know, what can I do? I can't, you know, I'm just an IT guy. You know, I'm a businessman. I'm an IT guy. I'll call my friends who are lawyers and stuff and try to help. So, you know, at first I kind of got involved. I was trying to get her some lawyers and get her in touch with people. I actually referred Gus Bilrakis' office to her because she lives in that district. And they reached out to her and said that they were going to help. But, you know, nothing actually ever came out of Gus's office. But I sat in this court hearing, right? And it was just so unfair, because she's pleading her case that, you know, she bought this house, you know, without knowing that the land that the house sits on, the house is attached to the land. It's not like a you know, motorhome like that I have that I can, you know, hook up and like take away and leave. You know what I mean? It's like actual like mobile home that's like part of that, you know, that's on that piece of land. It has like a, you know, central AC system. It has a deck, you know, around it. So it's like really, it's not something that you can just pull out and leave. So what they did was she bought into this home. She paid like $30,000 or $40,000 for this home, and they told her like she could, you know, there's a lot of people that live there, you know, long term, but the lease on the land is like a bi-yearly lease, I guess, like a 6-month lease. She has to renew it. So she was renewed. She's been there for like a year and a half. But then this year in January, they did refuse to renew the lease. So she's like, wait, what do you mean you're not going to renew my lease? And why are you not renewing my lease? So the response they gave her was, we don't have to tell you why we're not renewing the lease. We can just tell you that we're not going to renew the lease. So she's like, okay, so what do I do? What are my choices? And they're like, you have to either, try to sell your house or we're going to, evict you. So she tries to sell her house in a hurry, couldn't get through to it. They move on with the eviction. And I'm sitting there, I'm like listening to this judge talk about it. And then I sent all this case to all these little different attorneys, and none of them would take the case. And the judge ruled against her. They ruled in the favor of the trailer park company. So I was like, that sounds really unfair. Like they're literally trying to screw this, American single mom out of her home who doesn't have the money. She's the part. She doesn't have the money to even get a lawyer. You know what I mean? Let alone try to lose $30,000-$40,000 investment that she has in her home. She's the type of person that can't lose that. She can't she's gonna be homeless. And so I started looking into it. And I started looking into like who owns this real estate company that's like this mobile home trailer park, whatever. And the park that owned it is like one of the largest like trailer park owner properties in the country. And lo and behold, I started looking into who owns like all the shares in this company. It's a publicly traded company, and it was all BlackRock, and two of the top owners were BlackRock and Vanguard. And
there you go.
That makes a lot of sense of why none of these lawyers would take on this case, and why the judge is like, oh yeah, we're going to rule against you and evict you from this home because this hearing is about the eviction and not the process of how we got here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this when I talk about, that they have, there's XYZ companies that literally, XYZ companies and the select group of people, 1% group of people that control everything. They do. On one end, they're using millions, billions and trillions of dollars of our money to go blow up a bunch of countries and that's across the seas that we have nothing to do with, and all those people flooding into our country. And on the other hand, they're screwing over American single mother Americans down here who have no money, and they're taking the little bit that they do have. You know what I mean? They're screwing everybody in every walk of life and all around the world using the American political system.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I always say it on my show all the time, like, why are we paying taxes? So if I buy a house, why do I have to pay the property taxes? It's like, this land is mine. I should own it. I shouldn't have to pay, a dime out of what it was worth or whatever. Like, how they say like taxation is theft.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Well, your property taxes goes towards a lot of the local stuff here. Also schools. Your property taxes goes towards schools. But that's another problem with the schools. That brings me to my next issue. Schools.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible.
We fund these schools. We pay for these schools. So why do we not have a say in what they're teaching our kids? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I actually want to abolish it. I want to get rid of it. Like when Trump was talking about, like just abolishing the DOE or like getting rid of certain programs altogether. I agree with that because it's just so horrible. How do you fix that? Like it's just too much for me.
Right. I think every aspect of the American government and the American ruling class needs to have a huge shift where Americans actually make those choices and make those decisions of what, how our country is being ran. Because right now, the way that I see it, our country's hijacked in every position, in every way.
Agreed.
Politicians are bought. Leaders are selected. So we need to break the chains of that whole, structure that we're a part of.
Exactly. Totally agree with you. So shifting gears a little bit, gonna turn up the heat. And I won't get into details because I don't know how, YouTube is finicky with this kind of stuff. But how do you feel about J6? I know a lot of people are very heavily opinionated about J6 and 2020 election. Some people say it was stolen, some people say no. But just a broad answer if you can. How do you feel about J6?
So, I think that 2020 election, whether you want to say it was stolen, it was legit. I don't really know. But what I do know is that I think it was like 20 million votes disappeared off of the elections all together between 2020 elections and 2024 elections, and all 20 million came out of the Democratic voter base. So, like that itself should, it doesn't conclusively prove anything, but it does, raise a lot of questions. Another thing that I question from the election is that they have proven that several ballots that were cast on the 2020 election were people that were already deceased for years prior. So I don't know if dead people voting is legit or not, but if it is, then I guess it was a legit election. But if it's not, then I would definitely raise some questions on how dead people voted, and I would also be very curious to know how they voted or which party they voted for. As far as the January 6th whole insurrection goes, I think that is it's terrible saying that was even an insurrection, or that was something that anything but a act of patriotism. Americans truly believe that our election lost its integrity, and now we know that it did. When there's no integrity in the elections that we cast our votes in, that's our system to govern. There's going to be some backlash on that. As a Republican, I would have definitely taken a different approach, because there was several Republican congressmen in that in that building. What I would have done if I was in Congress at that time, I would have issued campaign staff passes to everyone. I'd have been like, all right, these are all my campaign staffers. These guys all work for me, and none of them would have been trespassed. That's what Republicans should have done. Republicans, I think that we need fresh blood. I think we need people with high IQ. I think we need people who are younger, who are able to, come up with ideas on the fly and make those things and make those changes happen. Because the Democrats do it very well. The Democrats are very smart. They're always ahead of the game. Otherwise, we would never gotten here with Kamala and Biden. How far they've gotten. So to the Republican Party, let's pick some people who have higher IQ than 120. And let's go not even 120. Let's put the bar a little lower. Let's pick at least like higher IQs than like 80. You have to have like an 80 IQ to be in in a leadership position, because I feel like most of them are not going to make that cut. But at the same time, I think that it's terrible what's happening with the January 6th protesters. I think that they should have been pardoned before Trump even left office. He should have given a blanket pardon for all those insurrections, all those charges that they face. Even to this day, I know several January 6th protesters who have taken plea deals on cases that they should have never even been prosecuted on, let alone charged or found guilty. But they took those plea deals because they can't afford to keep fighting it. It's very expensive to fight a case. Especially against the government. So I think that coming into office, if Trump's the real one, he would, on his first day, pardon all of the January 6th protesters. They deserve it. They've earned it. They've suffered 4 years fighting for Trump, and those are his most loyal followers, and he needs to do something about it.
Yeah, agreed. That was going to be my next question, because I feel so bad for those people. Like, their lives were ruined just because they were peacefully protesting it, in my opinion, peacefully protesting,
it is
the
our
whole
duty.
election.
Yeah, it's
Right,
our duty
exactly.
as Americans to, protest and make our voices be heard. Otherwise, we're not a free nation.
Right, exactly. All right. So I wanted to ask you about Israel and Ukraine conflicts happening right now. I know that's in the news a lot, and you did already post a clip of yourself on the news talking about it. So just really quickly, agree or disagree with all of those conflicts that are going on? And you have already said like we shouldn't even be funding them. So totally agree with you there. But like, how do you feel about America getting involved in the business of other countries when it comes to like these proxy wars, or just funding these people when, in my opinion, we shouldn't even have our hands or our eyes over there? We should be worried about America. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think America's powerful enough to be left alone. I mean, look at China. China focuses on themselves, and they're light years ahead of us. Most Republicans that I speak with, they're like, "Oh yeah, but we're so much better, bigger, and better than China." Have you been to China? China's 100 years ahead of us. All right, China can drop at the dime and literally destroy everything everything in every way that we can produce. All right, They can produce more rockets. They can produce more. They can produce everything much cheaper, much better. There's actually cars in China that are like way better than Teslas, and they're like $10,000, $15,000 in China to get. You know what I mean? They're faster, they're more efficient, they get more mileage. You know what I mean? China makes things 100 times light year. China's light years ahead of us. China doesn't even have dust in their public transportation system, let alone rats and litter. All right. So I think that we should be focused. We're strong enough to be left alone, and most countries won't actually attack us. If we leave them alone. I think that there's a whole ocean that separates us from Israel and Ukraine. I think that my stance is pretty much the same for Ukraine as it is for Israel and Taiwan or Pakistan or Egypt or Lebanon or any of them. You know what I mean? I feel bad for I feel bad for everyone, right? I feel bad for the people that died in January 6th. I feel terrible for those people. And I also feel bad for the 40,000 people that have died in Palestine and the people that are still getting slaughtered in Lebanon, the people that are getting slaughtered in Syria. I feel bad for all those people. I pray for all those people that they one day are able to find peace, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I feel worse for me because I'm getting wrapped up into this fight without me having anything to do with it. And I don't want anything to do with it, but my government has got me wrapped up in this whole battle. They're systematically destroying the country that we have. I don't want to be like Palestine. All right. I don't want Palestine to be America. I don't want Lebanon to be America. I don't want America to be like Ukraine or Russia or any of those people. I want America to remain American. Okay. I feel bad for us more than anybody else. I feel bad for everyone, but I care about more for us.
Wow. Yeah, totally agree with you. All right. So I want to pull up one of these tweets of yours, if that's okay.
Okay.
And you said, I've backed Trump, donated, and fought in his corner for 9 years. But thanks to his blind, baseless obsession with Israel, I'm done. Until we get a candidate who actually puts America first, neither party's getting my vote. So, I mean, I do agree with you on the Israel part. Same thing with Ukraine and any other conflict, right? I don't care where it is. But I did want to ask you about your sort of criticism towards Trump. So I will pull up on a different tweet, but I wanted to ask you specifically about Trump. What are your views about him?
So I give credit where it's due. Trump is an amazing guy. Trump is one of the most historical movements in American politics to ever happen. I think the whole right wing of our party is created because of Trump in 2015. But there's a huge difference between the Trump that was in 2015 and the Trump that he is today. So I actually look at those two people as two very different people. I supported the 2015 Trump. I love the 2015 Trump. I still love Trump as the person that he is because the American dream is Trump. You know what I mean? But it's his cabinet that I don't like. It's the people that are around him that's dictating what he does and what he's doing. It's the people that have now funded Trump, who's pulling all the strings and making all the decisions. That I dislike, right? I like the Trump that was independent. I like the Trump that stood in the podium in 2015 and was like, I don't want your money. I don't need your money. And I'm the only person to stand up here and say that.
I love it.
That's the Trump that I loved. All right. That's the Trump that I was like, yeah, I'm going to fight for this guy. I'm going to go door knock for this guy. I'm going to go donate to this guy. This is our guy, right? This is our fighter. This is our guy. I'm going all in. Right. That was my guy, And then now to think back on that and look at Trump and his decisions to take $100 million from Miriam Adelson when he made fun of Marco Rubio for taking money from Sheldon Adelson in 2016, and he turned around and he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson. He brought in Susie Wiles into his campaign, who's the staff director now. Brought in Chris LaCivito, Susie Wiles. They were all anti-Trumpers. JD Vance called Trump a Hitler. You know what I mean? So I think Trump took the saying where they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I think he took that too literally and put him into his cabinet. So my support for Trump, I love Trump as a person. I love that he was America first, but with his decisions that he's making recently and the people he's put into key positions of power, I don't believe that he's America first. I feel like his agenda lines up with the whole Republican Party and what their agenda has been for the past 15, 20 years, which is not what I want to see as America First candidate.
Right. Okay. Another tweet of yours. You write, all eyes are on Kamala Harris right now. Her stance on this whole Iran-Israel situation is going to decide my vote this November. Is she going to put America first or sell us out for Israel? That's the real question. So when I read this, I was like, I don't know. Is he trolling or what? Like, so like, were you really contemplating voting for her, or like, I don't know, like, I don't care about this type of stuff, but this was from like my audience wanted to get your opinion on you like who did you vote for this election? Like, who were you supporting this election? Because even on your feed, you write, I'm not gonna vote for anybody because they don't represent me. And that's why I said, third party earlier. I almost voted third party because I was like, these people don't represent me or my values or America, bottom line. So were you trolling, or did you actually consider voting for Kamala?
Listen, one, I was trolling, and two, I would never vote for Kamala. There's not one thing that I could agree with her on. Even if she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to completely stop funding the war in Israel, I would have still not voted for her. Because everything else that she stands for is completely un-American. All right, that is the last person if she was the last person left in this world other than me, then all of humanity would come to a screeching halt. Right? So that was definitely trolling. It was also around the time when all the attacks were happening back and forth with Iran and Israel, Israel bombing Iran bombing Israel, and then America saying that we're going to get involved in all of this. And I don't want America to be involved in any kind of war. So I was definitely trolling on that. And as far as to who I was supporting this race, I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Kamala. I voted for Kanye West. Kanye West.
I thought that was a troll as well. I was just about to bring that up.
I totally did. I voted for Kanye West and Nick Fuentes. That's who I voted for.
Really? That is so interesting. Oh my God, I can't believe it. That was a real tweet, guys.
That was a real tweet.
Yeah. Okay. So then how do you feel about them? Because I mean, I say America first, but I know that did originate with Nick Fuentes, and Fuentes is really problematic in my opinion when he's just problematic. I'm not gonna even get into it. So I wanted to ask you, what is your opinion on Ye and Fuentes?
So Kanye West was a rebel vote. It was just for me to kind of troll people on saying that's how much I dislike both parties, that I'm willing to vote for somebody that's Kanye West. Let's just put it that way. As far as Nick Fuentes, he's a very controversial figure. Half the stuff that he says he's trolling on anyways. I don't take the stuff literally, but the thing that he is on point on is the geopolitics. The kid is a genius when it comes to geopolitics, why something is happening, why who's behind it. He's the only one that actually speaks. No, he's not the only one, but he's one of the biggest ones that actually has a very good understanding of geopolitics and why the conflicts are happening, where it originates, where it comes from, and has a whole understanding of how this whole American government kind of works. He's very informative. I don't agree with any politician or any political figures 100%, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna cross them off and say they're wrong or they're gay or whatever they're labeling him now. I don't agree with any of that, but I do think that he's very, very intelligent, and he's very well articulated, and he knows how to paint a story and put it together a way that people can understand it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right. So just side note, I was looking at your websites, and one of my good friends on X, he noticed your endorsements. And I didn't really put like any mind to it. I said, "Oh, okay, this guy has a nice website." I kind of missed it, but this guy is really good. And he said, "Ask this guy about his endorsements." And I was like, "Okay, fine, I will." So one of your endorsements was the Council of American Exceptionalism. And when looking at their website, in like the fourth paragraph, it talks about, they describe themselves as a secret society. And that phrase, or just the wording, I guess, kind of gave me a red flag, like secret societies. So I'm not going to get too deep into like conspiracy theories or anything like that. But we do talk about like how JFK spoke about this and how he was assassinated, probably because he was, putting his eyes towards the deep state or whatever.
Yeah, the
So
mononuclear facility, FARA and registration of APAC and all those things.
yeah, so I was gonna ask you, I mean, does that give you a red flag when somebody kind of calls themselves like a secret society or organization that is backing this person to run?
Listen, I don't do a deep dive in anybody that's endorsing me. All right, if they're endorsing me, I thank them for it. I thank them for their support, and I'll take the endorsement. Unless it's somebody that I totally completely disagree with, then I'll be like, I don't really want your endorsement, but thank you for supporting me.
Right.
I didn't really look into who they are. I met, I think, like two of the people that are in that organization, and they were good people. We had, our ideas kind of aligned, and they're also, they liked, what I stood for and what my platform was, and they said they would give me an endorsement. And I said thank you for your endorsement. That was the end of that.
Okay. All right. And last question, also from another viewer. And I think you might agree with this because I was like, this guy plainly says, anti-war in his bio. He doesn't support anything foreign at all. So would you be in support of literally bringing all of our soldiers from all around the world back to America, shut down all of these, bases, or, like just bring everybody back home so we can focus in America?
Yeah, absolutely. I would 100% bring all of our soldiers home, bring everything back home, focus on us. Try to and all. I'm not saying that we shouldn't help any countries, but before we help anyone, we need to help ourselves and make sure that we don't. The only time we should be giving any money to any foreign country or having any kind of foreign investments when we have a zero debt. Once we can get rid of once we have a zero debt, we don't have $36 trillion looming up over our heads. I'll be all for trying to help other countries because God's given us money. But right now, God's taking, we're in debt. All right, we're in the negative. All right, it's not
Yeah,
a
exactly.
surplus. We're not the richest country. I don't know what Biden says. We're the richest country in the world. That'd be like me saying, "Oh, I'm in $2 million in debt." But hey, I'm very, very wealthy, though. Like I got the
Yeah.
money. I can borrow some more and give it to you. It doesn't, I don't think that should be the case. But yeah, I would shut down all of our bases, and the only time I would have anybody, in anywhere around the world would be for humanitarian reasons. If there's a country that's like, they need our help rebuilding, or getting through a natural disaster or something like that, or I guess we're responsible for rebuilding the stuff that we destroyed in war. It kind of becomes a responsibility. So that stuff, I would say, I'd definitely want to support and help and get those countries back up to where they were before we decided to slaughter all of them, trying to find weapons of mass destruction that we never found. That kind of falls to be our responsibility because I'm a responsible person. If I'm, I I took my kids to this jumpy place, and like I got a voter out of this. Actually, kind of funny. Took my kids to this jumpy place. I have this big truck, and I backed out and I hit this girl's car. So I left my car there. I was like, I broke your taillight. Call me. I'll get you a new one. So the guy calls me. He's like, it's really nice of you to do that. Why did you do that? So I told him, I was like, one day I'm gonna die, and I don't want to die with debt. So he's like, I don't want to die with any debt. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, he owes me this.
Yeah.
So he's like, what do you do? So I told him like what I did. I was politically involved. He's like, I really want to help you. And he's one of the people that I'm in touch with, on a weekly basis, and he's helping with my campaign as well. But yeah, that's, I pay my debt. So I think as a country, we need to pay our debt of, we have like $200 trillion in debt.
Right.
We have $36 trillion in debt. And we have about 200,000 like obligations that we're supposed to pay for somehow. But yeah, those are all things that I would want to first address and figure out why. We can't be paying $100,000 for $10 bearings. We can't be paying $17,000 for hammers. It can't just be a free for all. Every politician has a hand in every cookie jar of the country. It's our money. It's the taxpayers' money. It's the working class people's money. Our kids' money.
Right.
And you can't spend it. That has to.
Right.
That is my top priority. So abortion, wars, everything else, I don't really, it takes a back seat.
Right.
For 36 trillion that we have in debt. If that's the one thing that I'm going to focus on, it's going to be that we, cut the hands of the people that have their hands in our cookie jar.
Right. But I think it's a problem when like you have an ally, right? They say, "Oh, Israel is our ally. We should come to their defense, or like we should help them." Or even with NATO. Uh for me, I'm like, why are we even in an alliance with these people if they don't mirror our same values? So how do you feel about when people say, "Oh, we should abolish NATO, or we should get rid of three-letter agencies. We should just like abolish all of it, shrink the government, make it small." How do you feel about that? Because it's like if our ally gets into trouble or gets into a war, like or whatever, which is what's happening in Israel, and even with the NATO situation with Ukraine, and like, oh, we want to make Ukraine a part of NATO, and everybody was like, fighting online about this whole alliance and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, can we stop this? Like, in my opinion, I'm like, I don't want to be friends with nobody until we get our border fixed. We deport everybody who came in here thinking they could stay here, and like you said, focus on our own front yard and backyard. So how do you feel about that?
So I'll tell you this, my stance on this is from an American person. Like we went into Iraq and Afghanistan looking for weapons of mass destruction. We didn't find any. There was no weapons of mass destruction. But what it cost us was $17 trillion, 21 now, since 9/11. 21 trillion is what it cost us. About 600,000 Americans have died. American soldiers, young Americans have died in battlefield, and then coming back home and suffering from PTSD and having subpar, mental health care, and returning home. Half of those, I don't know if about half. I think it was like 27% of those people are homeless now. There's a huge population of homeless veterans now that live in the streets of our country, and I don't think that we should be spending any more money or our lives for any of these wars abroad. If you're an ally, you would understand that we're your ally is draining dry. We're $36 trillion in debt. We have a huge homeless crisis. We have a drug pandemic going on. We have a vaccine pandemic going on, and there's all these things that we're facing. As an ally, you should care for us too. As an ally, you should care for us. You want weapons from the whole Israel thing with Ukraine, also Ukraine. You want weapons from us, I'll sell you weapons, but you have to give me the money. I'm not going to take on more debt to give you money to buy my weapons. That's not how this works. As a businessman, if I'm selling products to someone, I'm not taking out a loan on my behalf to give you money to buy a product from me.
Right.
You can take out your own loan, you can pay me, and I'll give you the product. You know what I mean? If Ukraine, needs all this money, why is BlackRock own so many contracts in Ukraine? 60% of Ukraine is now currently apparently owned by BlackRock. For the rebuilding. Like, okay, so who's really making money here? Again, but BlackRock. It's like every spectrum of the puzzle somehow ends with money getting sent to BlackRock. No matter no matter who's dying, whether it's is people in Israel dying, whether it's people in Lebanon dying, in Ukraine, in anywhere around the world, no matter who's getting screwed, BlackRock makes money.
Exactly.
That's the problem. No matter who's getting screwed, Americans getting screwed, Israelis getting screwed, Palestinians getting screwed, Sudanese people getting screwed, Chinese people getting screwed. No matter who's getting screwed, BlackRock makes money. They make money. Americans have $36 trillion in debt. BlackRock has like a couple of $1 trillion in their assets.
Yeah. Wow.
So no money for
totally
anyone. My stance is no money for anyone. As it comes to NATO is all it's doing is creating more problems for us. I don't want to die in war with Russia. Okay, Russia's never been our enemy. We have never fought a war against Russia other than the Cold War. We're like, okay, tit for tat. We created a fake enemy to keep feeding the military-industrial complex. You know what happens when you don't have an enemy? You don't have to spend $2 to $4 trillion on weapons budget. If you don't have an enemy, you don't need to make all these weapons. So what has the American government done? They've always created an enemy at all times. I don't know if people realize this. We have always skipped from one war to the other. It's never been. no war. There's always some kind of war somewhere going on at all times. And even if there's
Except
not,
under Trump, there was no new wars, right?
I
That's
mean,
what
there
he
was already
runs on all the
existing war.
time.
There was already existing war, so he didn't have to create any new ones. And he was also a different Trump than he is now. You know,
Right.
the Trump that was in the last administration was our Trump. The Trump that's in
Yeah.
this administration is Susie Wiles and Susie Wiles and what's her name? I'm drawing a blank now. I just said her name, Mariam Adelson. You know,
Okay.
Susie Wiles and Mariam Adelson's Trump. That's who, you know, they stole our player. You know, they stole our fighter, and I'm so pissed about it. You know, like Trump was our fighter. That was our guy. Like, yo, that was my guy. You know, and now,
Yeah.
like,
No,
you know,
I know how you feel.
like,
Yeah.
he's like their guy. Like, come on. You know, that's like not even fair anymore. Like, who are we left with? Kamala? That's who we're supposed to play with? Like, that's cheating.
Yeah, they really fumbled the bag with that one. Okay, so I'm gonna go to some chat questions, and this one you pretty much answered already, John Marciano. How do you feel about the American taxpayer money? And you just said no money for nobody. So I think you pretty much covered that one. The next question reads, Ishan Vern here from Canada. What do you think could happen to the American economy if China restricts all imports to the US?
So I think that U.S. had a really good, U.S. had a really good era during the Industrial Revolution. I think that if China restricts imports to United States would have to, start figuring out how to manufacture these things in our country. I think that might actually be a net positive for us, even though we might struggle for a little bit. But I think that it would start bringing more manufacturing in-house. So I do kind of agree with the whole tariff that Trump says.
Right.
Would it cost more? Yeah, it might cost more, but we'll have more money within our country. So like our dollar, I think the value of our dollar would go further. I think that manufacturing would start coming into America. There'll be more jobs created, more money more flowing through the economy. So I think all in all, it'd be a net positive. The reason that even I have a manufacturing company. I have a e-com business also, and like my manufacturers are in China because it's just not cost effective to build them here. Can we build the products here? Of course we can, but it costs more to do that. So now if everybody was competing, in the same market where everything, things did, cost more to make, but there was more quality, then we would all be in the same playing field. We would have to have a manufacturer here. Whereas now, if I manufacture my products here, I'm not going to be able to be competitive with the rest of the market, So I think that, on one end, we should have free trade. I do agree with free trade and having that, but on the other end, we shouldn't be so relying on another country for everything that we do. That's a very dangerous thing to be in, because God forbid if we ever do come into a conflict with China, we're not going to have that cushion to try to struggle and bring everything in house and try to figure out how it's all going to work out. We're going to be in a wartime, like it's go time. We're not going to have the cushion to be able to fall back on. So I think it's very dangerous where we are right now with so much dependent on China. So I do agree with that on Trump having the tariffs and trying to bring more manufacturing in-house, even if it costs more. Temporarily, it will cost more, but it will also balance out in the eventual scale.
Right. I agree with you on that one. All right. Our next question from Jimmy Bell to ask you, do you believe that the federal income tax is unconstitutional?
So I do believe that, because there's so many different loopholes in it that most people don't even know how to get out, and the only people that are paying taxes, I feel like, are the working class. Are the ones that are really paying taxes. I kind of do? The libertarians say this. We should have standard taxes, all things, and also it is unconstitutional because the federal income tax was created because of war, and then they just kept us in war to keep it going. You know what I mean? Like it was never supposed to be a permanent thing. That all these taxes, they were never supposed to be a permanent thing. It just became permanent because they kept all these wars permanently, going, because it lines up their pockets. I think that there needs to be a better way, a better system. You should be able to just know that, okay, this is how much money we made and this is how much I'm going to owe in taxes. I think a standardized sales tax or something like that. Something standardized where it's not a bunch of loopholes that some people are able to manipulate and others are not. It should be all down the pipe and more fair, because it's right now it's not.
Right. Okay. And his next question was about, I already brought it up, but about the secret societies, and you've already answered that question. But it
Send
also
me
dives
send
in.
me a send me the link on that. I'd like to see too.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send it to you on X. And I think it just gives us the wrong vibe, is because we talk about the deep state a lot, and so we kind of entertain the, conspiracy theories, but we also entertain facts. Like, there are some factual things behind secret societies and deep state stuff. So Jimmy is asking you if you believe that there is a deep state.
Yes, absolutely. There's a deep state, and the guy that I'm running against is 100% part of it. And the reason I say that is because I looked at one of his campaign things. It's called like Friends of Randy Fine, and like it's a nonprofit, and like it has all the financials. And I was looking through these financials, and there's like dozens of PAC groups that donate like anywhere from like $10,000 to like $100,000 into this other PAC group that he owns, and they're all registered out of the same address. It's like a South Monroe Street in Tallahassee, right? They're all registered to the same address, same location, South Monroe Street, a couple of different suites or whatever. And then it's like large amounts, like anywhere from $10,000 to like $100,000. And all these PAC groups send money to this one PAC group that he has. He has multiple, but then this one PAC group then takes the money and it just sent $250,000 to his consulting, company, where, on our side, for me to raise money, everyone is capped at $3,300, right? So anytime you support a congressional candidate, the max you can contribute is $3,300. Whereas these guys can contribute, millions of dollars. He can go up to one or two of his, gambling buddies who are gambling executives. That's who he is, and be like, "Yo, I need you to give me $1 million each." I can't do that. I have to go to 500 different people and be like, "Yo, I need you to send me like $100." You know what I mean? That's how I have to fund my campaign. But Randy, on the other hand, could jump right into this race with $80,000 from some other campaign he's already got all this money in. And that to me is exactly the deep state. That is exactly, Randy to me is the poster child of everything that is wrong with our government, right? He's and some of the things that he did, like I would laugh at it and be like, all right, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Like him flicking off the judge in the Zoom court hearing, I'd be like, all right, that's kind of funny, but he's such a terrible person that even that is like, it's not funny because that's who he is. You know what I mean?
Right.
He thinks that he's above the law. He thinks that nothing could touch him. He thinks that, because he has all this, different ways that he can figure out how to, circumvent all these campaign finance laws. That's who he is. And I don't think that that's a proper representation of who Americans are, because most of your average Americans don't have PAC groups sending you $250,000. I promise you that.
Yeah, I think they should get rid of that. Like, that should be illegal or something like that. We should get rid of that. And that's why I like the third parties, because that's what they say. We're not backed by all these PACs. We are, grassroots funded. Everything that you see here is literally from real people, real supporters that are supporting this one person to win. And that's kind of why I like it.
I do too, but the problem is that we're a two-party system, right? And the only way you're gonna actually get into office. I mean, how many third-party candidates do you see in Congress? I think there's like one, if I'm correct. But I think that my goal in this race, and even being in politics at all, is to normalize being an average young person to run for office. So whether I win this race or not, if I inspire 10 more people to run for office, and one of those guys, two of those guys, three of those guys get in, I am vindicated in everything that I'm doing. I am 100% satisfied with everything that I'm doing right now, and the money that I'm putting up into my campaign it will be 100% well worth it if I can inspire other people to like me to run and actually win. So my goal is just that, to normalize running by people who are average Americans, who are actual Americans and not paid for by deep state, by PAC groups, by lobbying firms. And I want those people to know that there is a way. There is a way. We have to put in the work, because we don't have the PAC groups supporting us. We have to go out there and make it happen.
Exactly. Wow, that was a beautiful answer. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so last two questions. El Paisiano Patriot. He's asking you, drill? Are you for more drilling?
Yeah, I mean, of course I am. Why would we not? If that's the resource that we have underneath our ground, then that's what we use to, make sure that our country is running, our society is functioning. I think that we should also invest into technology. Invest into technologies that we can one day sustain, have a sustainable energy, platform, and maybe nuclear might be one of those. Maybe we can have like small little batteries that are nuclear powered. But I
Yeah.
don't know. But whatever it is, I want to make the investment into finding that next, energy, thing that we could that can give us energy. But right now, what we have is drilling. We know that
Mm-hmm.
the windmills aren't very effective. They're very annoying. Also, solar is
Mm-hmm.
also terrible because the way that we can't store the energy. Solar is great if we can find a way to store the energy other than lithium, which is terrible for the environment, and mining lithium is absolutely terrible. And the way to you can't also dispose, you can't also recycle lithium. It has to be buried somewhere, so it creates a lot
Mm-hmm.
of waste. So that's not a really good viable option. But I am all
Mm-hmm.
for using what we have now to make sure that we are able to fund the next big thing that we can produce in our country, in American made. That way we're not sending millions of dollars to China for solar panels that we're sending now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yes, drilling 100%. That for the foreseeable future until we can find a replacement for drilling. I am for drilling.
Awesome. And the last question from JG, has Ashan experienced any racism toward his Muslim background in this Christian nation?
Guys, I mean, listen, we're in America. There's racism everywhere. Everybody's faced racism. I have a lot of my white friends have faced racism. A lot of my white friends go to a lot of different Muslim
Mm-hmm.
events. They're looked
Mm-hmm.
at weird also. So everybody's faced racism. It's how you deal with it. And at the end of the day, I'm an American and I care about my country. And say what you want to say. My views are not going to change. I love everyone.
Right, right. You're right. Okay, real quick, just this question just came in. Do you support America's involvement in the Paris Climate Accord?
I will support it if it's the American Climate Accord, because I don't care about Paris.
Okay, good one, good one. All right, so that ends it for me. I think I got mostly everything that I wanted to ask you. Got the chat question there. So just to wrap it up, I just wanted to like bring up the reason like why I reached out to you, and also like my community is mostly made up as ex Jehovah's Witnesses that were never involved into politics. We are educating ourselves, we're getting opinionated, and we're not afraid to share those opinions anymore because we grew up in a religion, I call it a cult, that promoted that neutrality, to be neutral from politics, don't get involved, don't vote. And they would give us consequences if they found out that you voted. They would give you these religious consequences for that. So it was a really serious thing for our community. And so now that I'm doing this show, it's pretty brand new to me. I'm learning politics as I'm with them. You know what I mean? Like we're learning together. And then you responded back to me in the chat, and I just wanted to ask you if you can talk about that again, about your encounter with the Jehovah's Witnesses. You said that you were campaigning in St. Pete's and that you spoke to them, and I just wanted
Yeah.
my community to hear your story.
Yeah, so we were out, campaigning in St. Pete Pier, and there was a group of people there handing out flyers. So I go up to everyone. I
Yeah.
like listening to people. I like, getting opinions, and I like having conversations. I'm very open to different ideas and new things. So I actually had a friend who was a Jehovah's Witness growing up, so I had that in common with them as well. Back when I was in like middle school, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been to a Jehovah's Witness church with them too.
Oh wow. Oh my
But
god.
that was a long time ago. But
Yeah.
we were talking to them, and then they were like, we don't get politically involved, and
Right.
I get that, but the thing is that whether you're politically involved or not, politics has a direct recourse in your life. It has
Mm-hmm.
everything that it could take away your freedoms, or it could give you more freedoms. It can make your life better or make your life really bad. So there's consequences to every decision that politicians make. So your only power that you have is by voting. You can also,
Right.
obviously you can use the Second Amendment and take down the tyrannical government, but let's just say that's not going to happen. And I don't think any of us are capable of taking on the government at this point. But
Yeah.
but the only power that we do have is our right to vote, and that's why I did not vote for Donald Trump, because I practiced my power of not voting for him, because he didn't, he wasn't giving me as an American anything. He wasn't giving me what I want, which is I don't want war. I want closed borders. I want to have a balanced budget, and I want to have America first, which he was not doing. You know what I mean? You can say America first, but if you're sending out, billions, signing trillions of dollars to foreign countries, that's not America first when we're $36 trillion in debt. All right, that's just not
Right.
you have to define America first for what it is first before you can be like, yeah, I'm America first. All right, America first is not, oh yeah, you get a blank check, we'll pay off, Egypt to shut up and sit in the corner. That's not America first. All right.
Right.
America first is taking care of us. America first is making sure that our bridges don't fall when a boat hits it. All right. You think that's happening in China? You think in China? You think if a boat hits some kind of bridge in China, one of the major bridges in China, that it's going to collapse? You really think that? No, absolutely not. All right. It's in America that happens. All right. When a boat hits one of the most major bridges in our country, that thing collapses. You know why that happens? Because we're not America first. All right. We don't have money for our own infrastructure. We don't have money for our own homeless people. We don't have money for our own healthcare, but we'll give trillions of dollars to, the military industrial complex to blow up some other country that we have nothing to do with. You know what I mean? I don't care about those goats. I don't care about those goat herders. They can go herd their goats all they want. All right. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. All right. What does have to do with me is when I'm driving down St. Pete and all these people that I'm parking in front of are sleeping in the streets, and my kids are like, hey, why is he sleeping in the street?
Exactly.
That has an effect on me. All
Right. Okay.
I was telling this to the Jehovah's Witness people. I was like, you have, you don't. I'm not saying that you should be, picking us, trying to make people pick sides or whatever. But you should, at the very least, know who the sides are and vote on which side you align with. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree with you. But respectfully, if I can give you a little pushback about Trump, it was like 9 out of 10 that Trump, in your opinion, is not, that he's not America first. But respectfully, I do feel as if Trump was the only one who was serious about the border and deportation. And he was like running, and all of his rallies, he was laying out the rules of what he would do when he became, if he became president again. So in your opinion, you say you don't believe that he is hardcore on the border, or like that list that you mentioned, but just because he wasn't America first enough, then that's why you wouldn't vote for him? Because I mean, in my opinion, he was the only one that was like hardcore on that.
So it was a very calculated decision for me, right? I knew that Kamala was not going to win, but I also did not want to just blindly, support everything that Trump does. It was more of a, it was a rebel vote for me. The reason that I did that is because Trump sat in a podcast with a bunch of tech CEOs, and he's like, we want to increase more legal immigration. He specifically said that he wants to attach green cards to diplomas, and not just master's degrees or 4-year college or a specialized college. He said any degree. So a 2-year associate's degree, you'd get a green card attached to you. Now, if you think about that for a second, right now, the current, structure that we have in place, somebody comes into our borders, they have to wait 5 years. They have to apply. They have to wait 5 to 7 years to get a green card, and another 5 years from then to get a citizenship. So we have 10 years in between before they can come in and vote. Well, I mean, in some states, you don't need a voter ID, so you can vote right away. But for the most part, in order to get a citizenship, you need 10 years for you to be in the country. Make sure you don't do any crimes. You don't get caught doing any shady things. Otherwise, you'll get deported. With Trump's new plan that he's talking about with all these tech CEOs, he's like, yeah, we're going to attach green cards to diplomas. Elon Musk is all for it. I mean, I love Elon Musk, but the same time, I'm not for that. All right. I am
Right,
not
right.
for somebody in a foreign country sitting there going on Kaplan.com, spending $2,000 for an associate's degree and be like, yeah, I got my green card. Let's go, baby. You know what I mean? No, I'm not for that. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a
All
problem.
right. Yeah.
You know, then that's
Mhm.
that's me speaking as an America first. That should be a problem for every American, because guess what? That one thing that makes you an American is just so cheaply given away, then it has no
Right.
value. All right. So you know, for the people that are like, oh, but you had to vote for Trump. No, I don't. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only power I had. That's the only power that we all have. And if we blindly follow this, that power won't mean anything. So if you can hate
Right.
me all, you can dislike me all you want for saying what I'm saying, but it's the truth. You know, if Trump passes that plan of giving out green cards with diplomas, being an American citizen is not going to mean anything.
Right.
You might
Yeah.
as well denounce your citizenship and try to go get a citizenship in Canada or something.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
You'll get free healthcare at least in Canada.
Oh man, yep, that's another stream for another day. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I am super America first. I feel like I'm more hardcore in a lot of those stances that you gave. Like, and if I say it, or like you said before, all of a sudden I'm racist or like I'm
Right,
anti-Semitic or like I'm this or
right,
I'm that. Like that's what bothers me. That's why I asked you about that, because I'm like, no, it shouldn't be that way. It should just be, I am for my country first, and
right,
that shouldn't be a problem for anybody.
right,
And if you're not for your country, then who are you? You know, like that
right,
makes me question you and your country. Like, do you not love your country? So it's a
right,
problem that we have with that patriotism. I feel like it's dying. We certainly don't have nationalism. And that they're not teaching our kids that in public school. So
no,
I homeschool my kids. I have 3 kids as well, and I homeschool everybody because of that. I was like, I'm not gonna let the government brainwash them like with these LGBTQ stuff in schools that should have never been allowed in a public school system. And just teaching them how to be American. What does it mean to be American and America first? To love your country, to know the presidents, to know like everything. Like when we were young, but unfortunately, they're not doing that. So it's people like us, like you said before, your inspiration, you can motivate other people. And that's, I hopefully, like that's my thing with my show. I can like help my community, like wake up guys, get go out and vote, get opinionated, because they kind of like watered it down for us. Like,
right,
you don't have to vote, your vote doesn't matter, they
right.
select the president anyways, like we talk about the deep state and all that stuff. And it's like it makes you sometimes say, you know what, I don't want no part of this, I'm not gonna even bother.
Right,
um
right. And like, people think like I don't like Trump. I love Trump. I
right,
love Trump as a person, but I just don't like his current policies, and they're not his policies, because his policies were very good in 2016 when he first ran. But now his policies are being dictated by Susie Wiles and
right.
his whole cabinet, which that's who I have a problem with. I love Trump. I just don't like Susie Wiles and everybody else in his corner that's steering the ship.
Yeah, wow. So this was really great. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm gonna let you go. We've been here for like an hour. I was trying to keep this under an hour, but thank you so much for answering all of our questions, making yourself available, because not that many people I would think would want to come on some random girl's YouTube channel and talk about politics. So I'm so thankful that you came on and gave me, spent time with me, gave me your energy, your opinions. Like, we should do more of this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
this needs to
absolutely.
happen more often. So I want to thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and I do appreciate it. And yeah, we should definitely have more of this, because and the reason that I came on is because Daily Wire is not going to host me. Ben Shapiro is not going to vote for me. Ollie Kirk is not going to vote for me. Okay, I want to talk to my voters, the people that actually are going to vote for me. So that's the reason I came on your show.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, everybody in the chats. I'm going to let everybody go now. I might do another stream to like review this interview because this was the very first time. So if anybody wants to join me by myself over there, I'm going to start another stream. So thank you so much, Ehsan. I'm going to let you go now.
Thank you. I'll talk to you
Okay,
later. Have a good
bye.
night. Bye. Bye.
I'm a gun throwing patriot, God being patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm really Navy faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun toting patriot, God being patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm really Navy faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Okay.
All red MAGA flags waving through the South like we just want 4 more years. Democrats can't get right. Trumping with that Yeezy flow. Don't go broke on Sleepy Joe. Make America great again.
I'm a gun throwing patriot, God being patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm really Navy faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Gun toting patriot, God being patriot. Pricing why they mad, cause I'm really Navy faking it. Free speech advocate, it's on my mind, I'm saying it. I'm about to buy another gun and ain't nobody taking it. Okay.
All red MAGA flags waving through the South like we just want 4 more years. Democrats can't get right. Trumping with that Yeezy flow. Don't go broke on Sleepy Joe. Make America great again.